Bosses start somewhere. Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to Bosses Start Somewhere. It's your girl Riley Brooks Stith and
Shalante Taylor.
And you are listening to episode 2 of season 2. I am so excited for today's episode because one of my favorite country artists is here. And I have a dope conversation coming up next on Boss Moves. Stay tuned, stay bossy. Bosses start somewhere. Hey y'all, welcome back to Bosses Start Somewhere. We're gonna jump right on into Boss Moves. So show.
Okay, so tell me that you saw Black Panther this weekend.
I did.
Okay, so what are your thoughts?
Okay, first of all, shout out to the cast. I thought it was amazing. I feel empowered. I'm so happy that we finally have a film.
Is your skin glowing right now? Like that Black Panther vibranium glow I see on you?
Listen, I got a little vibranium in me, okay? But I am so proud of my people. I'm so proud of Ryan Coogler. Marvel Studios, you guys did an incredible job. I'm speechless. And I don't want to say much because I will ruin it, but show. What are your thoughts? I would love to know, how did you feel about this film?
How do I reflect and formulate my words and put everything together? It is everything. That film, it's everything from fashion and fashion is a part of culture, the music, Kendrick Lamar, The Weeknd, SZA. Everywhere you look, there's an aspect of us that we can take from and say, you know what, I could totally see myself doing that. I can see myself wanting to be a king or queen or wanting to be the person that creates all of these amazing mechanics that basically the vibranium. Ooh, I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Yeah, we can't spoil it.
You should have seen it by now. But just the futuristic sort of like machinery that's happening throughout the entire film, I think that's another way for the children and the next generation to be inspired. You know, those are jobs. You know, the film, it doesn't teach us to just say, hey, you know what, I want to be an actor. No shade to actors because we are actors. It doesn't just tell you to say, hey, look, I want to be a warrior. I want to be a musician, a rapper, something like that. There's something that all the kids can take from it. I want to do coding. I want to do fashion. I can lead a country, you know?
Absolutely, because for once, you know, we see something that's not white. I mean, conditioning is real. And what we see is what we're comfortable with. That becomes the norm. So when you don't see Black superheroes, our kids don't know that we can be superheroes. So it's so great that Hollywood and Marvel Studios and Ryan Coogler, you know, did a film like this because it opened up the doors for our kids to be able to dream and to see themselves. And I'm just so proud and so honored to be able to witness it, honestly.
Absolutely. You know? I completely agree with you. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's sort of like that meme. Did you see that meme on Instagram where the guys, no, it wasn't a meme. It actually was a video of two guys, like two teenagers. They were leaving like the movie theaters after seeing Black Panther. And they're like, is this what white people feel like every time they leave the movie theaters? Because I would love that country too. And it's just like, absolutely. If this is what you guys are feeling like, and this is what makes you love this country so much and the culture of this country, then we finally got a piece of that pie.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, stay tuned because we're going to be talking more about this next week. I'm so excited for the interview coming up next. It's your girl Riley Brooks Stith and
Shalante Taylor.
Stay bossy. Bosses start somewhere. Hey guys, welcome back to Bosses Start Somewhere. It's your girl Riley Brooks Stith, and I am so excited for today's show because I am not only a country music lover, but I am inspired by artists who are independent with a passion to share their perspective of life through their art, and that is our special guest, singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and Sirius XM host, Caroline Jones. So please help me welcome Caroline.
Hi, Riley. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining me on the show. I'm so excited to catch up and hear everything you're working on.
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to be here.
Well, first of all, congratulations on Rolling Stone. I'm not sure if my listeners know, but you were recently named one of Rolling Stone's 10 country artists you need to know. How did that sort of feel for you? Was that your first major cosign from a publication of that caliber?
Yeah, I would say that was my first major nod from a publication of the stature of Rolling Stone. So that in itself was very exciting. But what was even more exciting was how accurately the writer Elias Light, we talked on the phone for half an hour, and how much he really got me in my vision and what I'm trying to do with my music, and the kind of lane that I'm trying to carve out for myself. That's a blend of country music and pop music and singer-songwriter folk influence and rock influence. And he really got that. And it's exciting because now more than ever, I can't speak that much for other genres, but in country music, which is traditionally very conservative and structured, there's so much room now for other influences and artists with unique perspectives. So that was really exciting to see from a publication like Rolling Stone.
And the one thing I love the most about you and your music is your storytelling, because your music is poetry. And I would love for you to share with my listeners, why music? I mean, what was it about music that caught your heart?
I actually started writing poetry and writing short stories before I started music. So your mention of storytelling is right on. And when I was 9 or 10 years old, I started singing lessons. I begged my parents for singing lessons, and I was actually trained in opera and jazz. And once I started singing and realized that I could put all of those poems and all of those stories that I've been writing that were in my imagination, I could put them to melody and music. And there's just an alchemy that happens when you do that, when you match a poem or a lyric to a melody, that it makes it greater than the sum of their parts individually, the melody and the words. And I don't know how to explain it. I don't think anyone knows how to explain it, but music is just so powerful and so beautiful. And I don't know. I mean, why do we dedicate our lives to anything? It's just an inner fire, a light, a passion that can't burn out. And that's what I had.
And how old were you when you decided to make music more of a career focus?
I mean, I was 9 or 10. I wasn't thinking about it in career terms. I was just thinking, I knew that I would never do anything else in my life. Like, I knew that was my life. At a very young age. So
that's what's so inspiring about you, Caroline, and that's really what I want to jump into, because not a lot of kids at 9 or 10 years old, they want to grow up and be astronauts or firefighters or songwriters, actors. Not all of us can pursue those careers, not all of us can sort of find the drive and the fearlessness to go for it. What was it about you that you would say that allowed you to decide to say, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go all the way despite what it takes, and this is gonna be a career for me. How do you make that decision?
Well, it depends how you define. I think where a lot of people get caught up is in the external circumstances. And when you say, like, I'm gonna go all the way with this, there's a lot about, many people have different ideas of what all the way means. And depending on your definition of it, it depends how much control you feel you have over your reality and over your dreams. For me, going all the way just meant dedicating my life to the craft of music, of songwriting, of singing, of playing instruments and musicianship and production. And you don't need anything in order to dedicate your life to that. How much money you'll make, how much fame you'll achieve, how many accolades you'll receive. Now, all of that is out of your control, right? So that's where a lot of people say, oh, I can't do that because it won't work for X, Y, and Z reasons. But there really isn't anyone who can't dedicate their life to anything that they really want. It's all of these fears that are holding them back. And if you make money or security or fame or accolades or the approval of other people more important than your passion, then yeah, that is a big roadblock. But if you refuse to do that and you just say, whatever the circumstances of my life, I'll be happy if I'm doing this, then you'll find a way to do it. I really believe that. And I think that a lot of us, it's more psychological than anything else. We just put all these reasons in our mind of why we can't do something. And some of them are very justified, like the financial one or like the security one. And then some of them are more emotional, like what your family and friends think or what other people think of you. But in the end, they're all just self-imposed limitations. And if something's that important to you and you value it that much and you value your passion and your happiness that much, I really think you'll find a way to do it in a way that makes you happy. And not everyone is meant to be, Beyonce. It is like a personality type, don't you think? Like it's a certain drive that you either, some people have and some people maybe don't have. And I don't think it's, I honestly don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing. And I don't think it's necessarily a good or bad thing to know what you want to do with your life at a really young age. Because a lot of people who are very successful don't know until maybe they're 30 or 40 or 50. I mean, we have lots of examples of that too. So I don't think there's like a cookie cutter way, but that was just, that was me at a young age. I was really into music and writing.
What artists inspired you the most growing up? Who were you listening to in your early years?
Well, growing up, I listened to a lot of R&B and classic rock because that's what my dad and mom liked. So I actually grew up listening to a lot of Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, Barbra Streisand, like all the divas, and then The Temptations, Earth, Wind and Fire, like The Who. And so it's funny that I went into country music because I did not grow up listening to country at all. And it wasn't until I was 17 that I even went to Nashville for the first time and saw country music live at this famous venue called the Bluebird Cafe, which is a legendary singer-songwriter venue. And it's a place where songwriters go and play the hits that they wrote, but they just play them acoustic, just with their guitar in a very intimate venue. And I was just captivated. I couldn't take my eyes or ears off of these songwriters. And I had no idea that a genre that's based around that storytelling existed. And I just fell in love with country music. And it came as a surprise to no one more than me, but I just fell in love with it. I went back to Hank Williams and the Carter Family, which is the dawn of country music in the 1930s. And I just went forward from there, and I really soaked it up and studied Willie Nelson and Emmylou Harris and Vince Gill and Hank Williams and Patsy Cline. And that really informed my songwriting.
That is amazing. Now, I know you're working on new music. Can we expect a project anytime soon?
Yes. So my album, Bare Feet, is going to be out March 30th.
Yes.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And the pre-order is up March 2nd.
Amazing.
So you can get it. And with the pre-order, we'll have actually 7 songs up because we had an EP out before. So the pre-order will include 7 songs. And this album, I'm so glad I finally got to share it with the world. I wrote every single song, and I co-produced it with Rick Wake, who's produced Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston and Celine Dion. And I played all the instruments except bass and drums. So this is my baby, needless to say. And I can't wait for everyone to hear it. And we've already been playing all the songs live for a while now. So it's a blast.
So exciting. Now, I know you were on the Welcome Home tour with Zac Brown Band this past year, and I was very fortunate to be able to go to 2 shows at the Hollywood Bowl to see you. And obviously, you were absolutely amazing, so talented. And I know you're about to hit the road with a very special artist. Could you share who that is, and when can we get our tickets?
So tickets are available now. Yeah, I'm going on tour in April, end of March and April, with Jimmy Buffett.
Amazing.
Which is so much fun. I got connected to Jimmy a few years ago and played with her the first time at a hurricane relief concert benefit in November. And actually, we just released a live duet from that event. So yeah, Jimmy has become a mentor to me, and we've become partners in releasing my album. We're releasing my album through his distribution, and he has a great team. And what I really admire about Jimmy Buffett is that he has built such a culture similar to Zach, actually, but Jimmy Buffett's just farther in terms of decades. But he's just built this culture of joy and lightheartedness and not taking things so seriously. And he's built an entire lifestyle, a brand around his music, but it's come from a very authentic place. And that's why so many people have connected to it. So I really look up to him and Zach. They're both mentors of mine. And we're also doing 2 stadium dates with the Eagles.
What?
Crazy. I know. I'm so excited.
Oh my God. I can't take it.
I know. And Vince Gill, who is one of my favorite country heroes of all time, he's in Glenn Frey's place in the Eagles. So it's kind of like I get to open for Jimmy Buffett, Vince Gill, and the Eagles.
That's amazing. What song are you most connected to on this album? I know that's a really tough question as a writer, but what choked you up the most?
There's a song called Sunshine that when I was in the studio doing vocals for that song, I cried for like half the day because Sunshine is a song that I wrote a few years ago. I was booking myself at the time. I was managing myself. I didn't have a team. I literally didn't have anyone. I would just go play acoustic.
Yeah.
And so I had spent the whole morning cold calling schools and venues. I was doing a school tour at the time, so I would cold call schools to book myself. And I'd spent the whole morning and I'd just gotten kind of either no one had picked up or I'd been told no or no thanks or kind of rejected. Never in a mean way, but it just is tough, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember just being so kind of frustrated. And I wrote that song called Sunshine. And it's essentially using sunshine as a metaphor for, you know, when the sky is dark with clouds and it's raining and storming, you can't see the sun, but you know it's there. You never doubt that the sun is behind the clouds because you know it's there. You've seen it come out so many times. Mm-hmm. And dreams are exactly the same way. And your self-reliance and faith in yourself and your dreams is exactly the same way. You have to be able to be able to believe in your dreams before they come true. It's the nature of dreaming. It's the definition of dreaming and faith. And if you can't do that, you'll never achieve anything, really. Anything greater than anyone else has achieved before, because you have to be able to imagine something that's not real yet. And you have to have faith in that. And so I wrote this song called Sunshine about that. And so that was really emotional to sing in the studio. And it's one of my favorite lyrics.
So interesting, because that leads me into my next question, which you just sort of answered. But I would love if you could go into a little bit more detail in regards to what advice could you give any artist pursuing a career that may be experiencing some letdowns because that career isn't giving them the results they expected?
If you're not getting the results you expected, you have to find a way. And even if you are getting the results that you expected, you have to find a way to focus less on your career and more on your music. Mm-hmm. You have to just constantly find a way to care less about how conventionally successful you are according to other people's measurements and care more about the craft of your music and the joy of your music, or fill in the blank, whether it's, you know, your writing or your acting or your, you know, whatever creative endeavor you have. It has to be an end in itself. It can't just be a means to an end, because that's not what art is. And so you have to love it enough and care about the journey enough to really enjoy it and focus less on, I'm going to say the opposite of what a lot of people say, but I really believe it. Focus less on networking, focus less on social media, focus less on getting in front of this big wig or that big wig, and focus more on practicing your music and writing your music and learning new skills and production. I mean, there's so much opportunity now for creativity. Like, if you just open a laptop, you don't even have to own anything. You know what I mean? Like, just, there's so much opportunity, and it's free. It's free to practice your music. It's free to, practice imagining a crowd and engaging with a crowd. Go perform as much as you can. But don't worry so much about how the business side will take care of itself. Worry more about your craft and your product, because it's the age-old story of business. If your product is good enough, it's supply and demand. Like, people will come, people will find you, like, opportunities will arrive. And just focus on your music and the joy and passion of it, because honestly, that's what you want in the end anyway. Now I've met a bunch of veterans like Jimmy and Zach who kind of wish they could go back and be starving artists again. You know? Yeah. It's really about the journey, because even when you arrive at these big career milestones, then there's bigger mountains you want to climb, and it never ends. So you may as well find a way to really enjoy your passion and living it and let that be enough.
Before I let you go, Caroline, tell us a little bit about your SiriusXM show and, how we can listen and tune in.
Yeah, so I have a show on SiriusXM called Art and Soul, and it's a bi-monthly show where I interview singer-songwriters and artists, and we kind of trade songs. So I'll play a song, they'll play a song, and it's an acoustic, kind of stripped down, really intimate one-on-one show, long form interviews. So I really enjoyed it. I've been doing it for about 4 years, and we've had some great guests. We've had Regina Spektor, we've had Steve Cropper, James Bay, Gavin James. We've had a lot of great artists.
So inspiring. Caroline, thank you so much for your time and coming on Boss to Start Somewhere. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And honestly, this show is a big inspiration too. I've really enjoyed some of the episodes. I'm hearing from Ashley Everett and a bunch of the actors you've had on, Eric Nelson. And it's just, it's important that we continue this discussion, this conversation about dreams and dreaming and the nature of it, because what could be more important than that? Like, think of all the things we learn in school, but we're never really given the tools to, how do you do something as seemingly simple as believe in yourself?
Absolutely.
Like, those kind of tools, like, we just need to talk about them and give them to people, so that they really have, it's not just an airy fairy idea in their mind, but they really know how to have faith in yourself and your dreams and value yourself in your dreams.
Absolutely. I feel like the one thing we're taught, especially with the rise of social media, is how to follow people, instead of really creating our own path, which was really the inspiration behind Boss to Start Somewhere. I've always had a passion to inspire others, and it's really hard to sort of stay inspired in a world full of people constantly sharing their successes and their beautiful lives, but we don't see the tears. We don't see, all of those vulnerable moments that make up where they are today. And it's such an honor to hear your story about cold calling and those no's. I mean, a lot of us need to hear that, because the way it looks is that you woke up one day, decided to sing, you sound great, and hey, you got a career and you're on tour with Jimmy Buffett and Zach Brown Band.
No, that's not how it works.
Oh, Caroline, it's been such a pleasure, and I'm just so excited and honored to follow your journey. And, I'm definitely going to get my tickets for Jimmy Buffett, and I look forward to having you on again.
Thank you so much, Riley. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thanks, guys, for tuning into Boss to Start Somewhere. It's your girl, Riley Brick-Stith. Stay bossy.